first.
Yes, sir.
And
recapping
actually,
the week.
the
We've
week
been, we got
last
a nice
week was
brother.
busy, man.
Woo.
Let's see. It started out with Wednesday.
Yes, sir.
With the SAM, S-A-M, smart
Whoa.
approaches to marijuana.
Brother, that bit of we talked
Stupid
about it
approaches to marijuana.
How many times did we talk about Sam last week?
And it was exactly what you would have expected it to be, but only worse.
Oh man, I was not surprised by what they said. And you know, they keep on with the it's because of the children. But obviously, the bills and everything that we're putting in is 21 and over.
Specify adult.
We very
very specific.
We say we're not giving the children. This isn't for recreational use for the children.
Yeah.
This is not for the children.
This is for adult.
This is for responsible, restricted adult use, regulated adult use.
Right.
So
they brought out everybody this year. I mean, they've
not
done this is the third year.
That whole panel, I love you, Joe, and you know it, and we said it together. Overprivileged white people.
Yes, I
Not
understand
to be mad
that.
about it. It was just super overprivileged.
Yes,
not in our economic circles.
Everybody to them.
That is to them.
This is exactly right. What my point is.
Yeah.
They had two pastors.
Mm-hmm.
One and see, this is where they tried to be a little diverse. One Latino pastor and one African American pastor get up there, and they were part of the Little Dog and Pony show. Then they had a cop come up and talk about the dangers.
Well, we'll throw awesomeness to those pastors because they are willing to sit down with Connecticut Cure. Jason Ortiz reached out to them.
Talked to,
and they allowed Jason's going to go talk to the
but they're
congregation.
Not budging. We'll see what happens. They're talking.
That's better than the police chiefs that were there and the little
dude,
girls.
The police chiefs were scary there.
Oh my God!
And they brought in these three little girls from high school with these sob stories.
They should have been in school.
They should have been in school.
And they shouldn't be hanging out with older men going to Massachusetts.
That's right. Kebra's calling in right now. Kebra, hi.
Hey.
Hey, Kebra.
Sorry, we missed you this week.
We're doing fantastic, Kebra. Thank you again for everything. We know that you are in the midst of traveling and working and putting all that hard work out there for us, love.
So
we're all putting in mad work. So I'm really just pleased with progress, though. I don't care about the work. You know, we see the work end up with, some results. And I think we are safe to say that we are seeing results.
Yeah, we're seeing results on a lot of fronts here.
Yeah, and we were just talking about Sam's press conference.
Yes.
So Joe, I couldn't make it. So yeah, tell us about it.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was. I mean, it was live streamed, so I'm sure a lot of people saw it. But it was even worse being there.
Oh yeah, I saw it.
Being there in person was even worse because I really wanted to just jump out of my seat and grab the microphone and say, "Will you just stop telling lies?" And if you know, I mean, I'm sure you read, there was a lot of articles in the paper. I was on the news a couple times, but a couple of us, the normal people, did say a few things and got reprimanded by the state police. But, yeah, and, right? And we got interviewed.
Rebels with a cause.
We have to, right? We have to make it known. It's time to start spreading fear and start spreading facts.
That's right.
And the bottom line is their facts don't wash anymore. They just don't add up. They're using kids. They're using old data. The gateway theory was still mentioned. It was ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. Pastor Foster, there was a quote from him that said, all these lives would be in danger if cannabis. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, how do you? I mean, I'm very careful on what I say about. I think cannabis is a miracle drug. You know what I mean? And I think it can heal the world and nation. But you got to be careful with how you say certain things. And so to say like all these lives will be in danger, if all you're concerned with is starting some sort of mass hysteria instead of really sitting down and figuring out how in which we can address these concerns.
And that's right.
And that's been my thing. And when I've talked to different faith leaders who are encouraging the continuation of the prohibition of cannabis, I'm like, okay, well, I see your stance and I understand where you're coming from, but we have a governor who is committed to legalizing cannabis. We have legislators who have pretty much said that they're going to make sure this thing goes through. So how do we work together to address your concerns? How do we work together to make sure, because even though we're advocates, we're not advocating for kids using, we're not advocating for people consuming and driving, we're not of these things. We're advocating for an adult youth program, 21 and over, for people to act responsibly, to utilize and consume cannabis in a responsible way, to store cannabis in a responsible way. And we want to educate the community at large that cannabis can be an option that's better than alcohol. This is what everybody's choosing, alcohol and cigarettes. We have something that's healthier, natural, and won't kill you, and it won't lead you to kill anybody.
That's right. Exactly right. And that's the facts that we have to start spreading around instead of this fear. And, it's really, they got their form, and I'm hoping that at some point during this whole, legislative session that we get our form. And I'm sure we will.
We will. Madam President, you will make sure we will, don't won't you?
So,
yes.
Now what?
I'm actually downstairs. I'm going to keep talking to you while I'm coming up the stairs.
Oh, you are coming. Good.
She just building up.
Good.
JC,
so good. This, when you're here, then we can go over the 3 bills that have been put in that actually refer to cannabis and regulating it instead of. There's a bunch of bills that people have put in, but these 3 actually have to do with cannabis.
That's right.
Not having to do with driving or anything like that.
But there's some really awesome ones. So.
Right.
Yes. So we have.
All right. So let's go. Let's start talking about it. I'm
Okay. So we could start about the first bill that was introduced. Proposed bill number 5595, which was introduced by basically the entire Progressive Caucus here. And this is the one that kind of started everybody off, started the discussion off. So this is an act authorizing and regulating the retail sale of marijuana. And I'm reading the act word. No, I'm going to go word for word, but I'm going to summarize it. Permit the retail sale of marijuana to adults 21 of age of older. We agree with that. Provide a certain amount of sale be allocated towards drug awareness education, substance abuse treatment, and efforts to curb the abuse of opiates. Ensuring
we're for that.
We're for that. Ensuring that marijuana is tested for illicit substances and potency. We're for that. Studying that the impact of marijuana legalization and consumption. It's being done, but if they want to do it, they can. Funding the placement of drug prevention officers in schools. What do we think about that? What do we think about using marijuana money?
What would they classify as a drug prevention officer? Will it be a police officer or it be one of those,
just you come in and talk like a counselor type of deal?
Is it a counselor or? But I'm not for the more cop thing.
Yeah, okay. So that's one thing.
Wait, say that again? I missed that one. Say that one again?
Putting the, putting drug prevention officers in the schools. That funding for marijuana should go towards that.
Oh, yeah. We're not about that. We're gonna re-over police now our kids.
Now we're gonna police our children.
Right.
That's
and,
where I don't like the officer idea. If they're talking officer like an officer of a company or an office or you know what I mean? That's different. Where you can have like Mary Sue who's sitting in the counselor's office
all we
talking
need is
about
some
it.
cop in there drug testing random
That's
kids.
It. We
and
just need
frisking
one cop to walk around. I'm the drug prevention officer. I grew up in East New York,
and
Brooklyn.
you know who
we had
be
that.
testing.
Yes.
Oh, I grew up in
Yes.
East New York,
kids,
Brooklyn.
Little brown kids.
That's right. We had a drug prevention officer too. He harassed everybody.
Yes. So there's look at that.
Yeah.
So okay, so that's one thing we don't agree with. And then what is it? Create a public outreach campaign to prevent distracted driving and driving under the influence of marijuana. Okay, so they want to spend more money on marketing, telling people how to drive.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, the required oh, here we go. Require the Department of Consumer Protection to provide oversight and regulation of the retail sale and use of marijuana, unless there is a specific provision for another agency to adopt certain regulations. Well, there's our out.
Right.
So they have to create that provision. That's one thing we do not want, right?
Right. There has to be a separate agency. This can't go to the DCP.
No, DCP
No.
has already shown how they want to regulate cannabis, and it
Correct.
costs a lot of money. They overregulate and they overcharge for the licenses.
Yeah.
DCP license is $25,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Application fee.
Yeah, it's
And
not
and
gonna,
DCP, we don't want to just be critical.
and we're not being
You know, let's
Yeah.
figure out a way to
Yep.
make this better. You know,
Yeah.
I feel like the majority of the problems that we're enduring in the medical side and we're encountering on the adult use side is a lack of knowledge and understanding and
Mhm.
reaching out to people with knowledge and understanding.
Right.
I mean, you have jewels here in the
We
state
can
of
do
Connecticut.
this as a team.
Yeah, like you have us.
Yeah.
You have Paul Kirschberg. I mean,
Jason Ortiz.
you have Jason Ortiz. You have all of these people who are willing
Mhm.
to just sit down and, you know, educate you
talk.
and really
Let's
kind of
do
help work through the issues. You know,
Right.
I mean, I have people who come up to me all the time and they're like, okay, we're like for it, but what about, you know, driving under the influence? Like, what happens if, you know, and we want to talk about these things. 'cause
and
we
that's
want
a
to be,
simple
yeah.
solution. If you're impaired, you're impaired.
Yeah,
I
and
bet,
you
you know,
and we
we all
are not
believe-
for you driving.
Right,
This
I
is
think
not
we all
like
agree.
driving under the influence that we're pushing for.
No,
Yeah,
we
smoke
all
weed in your
agree.
car?
Im-
No.
Impairment is impairment,
Yes.
and if you're impaired, you should be
Pulled
held
over and got a
accountable,
ticket.
100%,
Yeah.
and that's something that happens to this day. Right now, people are getting pulled over, and they are being field sobriety tested, and there is a police officer saying,
Didn't
hey,
some
you're
lady
high.
just get pulled over for like cough medicine? I forgot
Cough
what.
medicine.
Oh, vanilla extract.
Vanilla extract.
She was impaired.
That's right.
Didn't matter when she was impaired. See, what I'm afraid of this whole controversy thing is, are they looking for a way to be able to spot test people for drugs? Are they looking
Right.
around like
But,
a,
I mean,
a
do
stop
we-
and frisk type thing? Oh, let's pull like DUI checkpoints,
Yeah.
and then that's what they're worried about. That if we do a DUI, we won't know if somebody's on weed.
They're
if
already
somebody's
doing it.
impaired, that's the only reason you should be pulling
Do
them
a
over.
field sobriety
That's it.
test.
That's it. If they're driving crazy, they running lights, or whatever.
They're currently saying that we're under the influence if we are under the influence. And they pointed out, you know, you can currently be arrested for being under the influence of marijuana while driving.
And
What changes?
What changes? Opioids too,
Yeah.
right?
You know, you can
If you're impaired, you're impaired.
You're impaired.
on your prescription bottle for your opioid. It says do not operate
And that's
heavy
also in
machinery.
this bill. Speaking
know,
of,
so-
I know we're getting ahead of the bill, but that's in there.
Mhm.
So we're saying DCP, we should work with them and maybe establish a cannabis
That's
control
correct.
commission
Something of that
under
nature,
the DCP. We could
some
work
type of
with the
cannabis
DCP
organization for, you know, I don't know if work for the DCP, but
or with
there's
them.
got to
No, with
be
the
there's some type of
DCP.
it has to be an equal entity, you know.
right.
Alcohol
like
is
they did in
regulated.
I feel like they're already. I don't.
alcohol's
I
a
don't.
separate one, right?
Exactly.
I don't feel like people understand the complexities of cannabis. I mean, we're talking about basic. Before I was
Right.
talking about basic knowledge and understanding,
Right.
but then there's so much science that's involved as well. I really think that cannabis should just be, like you said, have its own entity, its
Correct.
own overseeing
It
body.
needs its own body.
Yeah.
That really understands, because the stuff that they come up with is foolish.
It is. It is.
Sorry.
And even though they did it in mass, it's not even working out that great.
And they'll tell you
up
they're
there.
working at it. You know, it was a good start. Don't get me wrong; it was a great start, and they'll tell you that that's where you're at. But
At least they got
ultimately,
it.
They
At least
got.
they started
have
the
their
Cannabis
own
Control
entity,
Commission, right?
but
Now how
it's
well
working
it's
on
working,
it. You know?
is another story. But okay, so where are we at? I'll require that all marijuana of a certain potency be labeled as such, and such marijuana be packaged in a child-safe manner. That's fine. Okay, here we go. Provide that licensed dispensaries as defined in Section 21A 408 of the General Statutes have initial access to recreational licensing, and that the Department of Consumer Protection will develop guidelines for issuing new recreational licenses to unlicensed dispensaries.
Okay. Boo.
Boo. Right.
I was
We
waiting
do
for you to
not
get to
like
the end.
that.
Was and then we get
That
into the
we
good
don't
stuff
like.
here, right? That we don't like at all, because obviously right now anybody who is a medical marijuana patient knows the difficulties that the medical marijuana industry and the growers have keeping up with the demand.
Oh yeah.
So and even now in my dispensary, I have to wait sometimes 15 minutes to 20 to a half hour sometimes to get served, depending on what time I go in.
Yeah.
So
Where do you go, Joe? I apologize.
I go to Arrow in Milford.
I actually go to Arrow and Milford as well.
Right.
So
Me too. We
and
need to
we-
spread
we
our
all
love
go
around.
there. We like Arrow.
Well, we
and
know
Milford.
soon New Haven's
You
coming.
know.
So-
I mean, and I gotta say, you know, overall, I've had good experiences at Arrow.
Yeah.
Evan
I've
is
had
my
great
pharmacist,
people.
and
I've
I love him.
changed dispensaries 3 times.
Okay.
So I've actually gone through the entire process to switch dispensaries, and I've switched dispensaries every year for the last 3 years. Stopping with Arrow, and I kept Arrow for the last 2 years. I really enjoy it. They don't listen. They don't sponsor us. They don't give us nothing. We're regular patients. We're
no,
regular.
it's just
they
a
don't
fact.
give us anything
The 3 of
else.
us are patients there. That's just the
We
reality.
all chose to go there under our own reasons, but I was at the other location in Milford. My information did get compromised, so they did offer the year identity protection service. So that was nice of them.
Oh, when they had the thing.
With the theft. So one of my information was also compromised apparently. So I was one of those people. Nice people, nice shop.
Yeah.
It just it wasn't. I opted to change. The price
Yeah.
points were a little bit better at Arrow, and then before that, I was actually at 4. This is my 4th dispensary. Before that, I was in. So the other Milford location. Before that, I was in Bristol at the Healing Corner, and that was a nice place. Dave is a great guy. They were also nice. It was just that it was far, and for my location where I was, it was a half-hour drive to either dispensary.
Right.
And it was like, if I'm going to New Haven, I might as well go to Milford. That's the problem with our medical system. You have to go to that
one
location.
dispensary.
And then when I started the program, I was at Blue Point, so I progressively lowered my.
So
I
all
had
right,
to jump around.
So
Yeah,
the thing is, so how did you find? I mean, I have found. I don't want to. At Arrow, I've had to wait sometimes when
Wait
it's crowded.
times, it's crowded. All of them are crowded.
CCC was worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And surprisingly enough, there are some dispensaries in Connecticut that aren't doing so well just due to
their locations,
geographic locations and what they're predominant,
So I think the burden to be burden them with recreational right now, and
I
the
think it's
growers
not
too.
fair
I
either.
don't think
I
it's
mean,
right.
No.
I don't care about their burden
I don't
necessarily,
care.
but open up
They
their
need to
opportunities
exactly.
to
It
other
needs to be
people.
opened up
Period.
to
Point
other
blank.
people.
Like that was just a
Day one.
that signaled to me, which should have signaled to everyone, that the wrong people are having influence over our legislators.
And
Yes.
it looks good in the beginning,
Yes.
and then you stop reading. But if you continue
Yeah,
reading,
because
you
people
see,
saw grow rights and was like, this is a winner. Heck to the no.
no,
Heck
that
to
was
the
one
no.
of those give me items.
Yeah,
Oh,
grow
we'll
rights
give 'em
is one
grow
of the
rights, but
last
we're gonna
things
take
on
them,
here.
We're gonna take them out.
Yeah,
We won't give them
it's
an
like
equitable
dangling a
chance.
little shiny thing in
Yeah.
our face to make us
Yeah,
say,
so
forget
you're-
all the other stuff. Did you read the Enterprise Zone?
And I'm coming
sentence yet?
next. Coming
Okay,
next.
all right.
That's
Well,
right.
I
Well,
was
here
waiting
comes
to
worse.
so I can have my boo.
Here comes the
Yeah.
worst one. Require roadside testing of impaired drivers. And if a driver is found driving with at least 5 nanograms of THC per milliliter in their blood, or to have consumed marijuana in the previous 2 hours under the influence, laws shall apply. Well, the under the influence laws already do apply for marijuana. You can get busted for.
And that 2-hour rule isn't in fact.
Yeah.
That's, you know what I mean. If you're impaired, you're impaired.
They're working, right, and for now we have to go with that. Every
Yeah.
other state is doing that. They are working on their dumb saliva tests, whatever they want to do, and eventually, look, cops, you don't have to worry about it. They will come up with it
Oh,
for
yeah.
you.
You bet
Please,
your hump.
you just have to wait, all right?
There's field
They will
sobriety
come
tests
up
for
with it.
anything that people want. It's do they want to pay for it?
Yes, and the technology will exist. We know that. They're
And
coming.
that's-
Canada is all over it.
Oh yeah.
They're
and,
all over it.
Not to cut you off. It's just, it really is. It's happening, Joe. It's
It
here.
shouldn't
It's
be
not-
the
it shouldn't
issue.
even be an issue.
They're making that. That was big thing at the SAM conference. It's not the issue. It will
But
be
then
fixed.
again, it's just like but why was cannabis prohibited? Was it because it was a lot of car accidents?
No, there were no
No.
cars.
Was it because? Yeah, there were no cars.
thing.
Was it because of the children?
Oh,
no,
children.
they didn't mention. Well, they did mention children, but not in the same way they
Well,
mention
probably
now.
because children would be around darkies and
Oh,
be coming.
yeah, make them think they're good as white people.
I mean, Jesus. I mean, and that's what
And
I'm
if
just
you
gonna
even
bring
look
everybody
at those
back
old
to.
movies and the
That's
proper,
right.
We can work through your concerns. We can talk about your issues. We can try to figure out ways to
yeah.
enforce responsible use. But let's not talk about it as if this is the reason why was
It's a
prohibited.
reason to make it right.
Like
Come
it had
on.
nothing to do with anything. These are all things that you made up over the years
Yes.
to support
And we
your racially motivated prohibition
and
of cannabis.
Correct.
right.
Correct.
And both
that goes right there, and it's 100%.
right.
You know,
Yeah.
we got
So
some
you-
people here saying, you know, they do have what they believe there's some type of test out in Colorado.
There is. Trust me,
Uh,
they'll have it.
Yeah, they got that. Like that's a small thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
All right.
Chemo.
But they make a big deal out of it.
Mhm.
Provide for separate
Oh wait, but can I just say, blood testing is not going to determine impairment.
No.
I could have
No.
5 nanograms. You could have 5 nanograms. You could have 5
and Harry
nanograms.
could have 5.
And
He
Harry
could be
have 5.
impaired. We wouldn't be.
Yeah,
Nanogram?
Oh, God.
We're on the internet.
All right.
and we got questions. I
internet
can't
is
see
up.
that
Oh, we're
far.
up again.
Where the
Yay!
net is
We
up.
love Harry.
I
All
can't
right.
see.
Brave.
Hey, Leroy. Leroy
All
used to be
right.
my boyfriend.
Here we
back in
are.
the day.
Provide for separate statutory schemes for palliative and recreational use. We agree with that.
Yep. We,
Oh, somebody loves Hartford Arrow. Okay.
Okay.
I'm reading that as we go.
Allow
We
the
got
growth
corporate
of
cannabis
not
grows
more
bullshit.
than
A
6
lot of bull.
plants
Oh, man.
for personal use.
We are
So
on the
we're-
internet. I love it.
We're in. We're looking
So
at
6 plants?
6 plants for personal use is what they're talking about. They don't say per household. They don't say per adult. They just say 6 plants for personal use. Ensure that.
Oh, boo! I was gonna say boo.
No,
To
well,
the last 3 things.
well, 6 plants is good, but they don't specify enough.
Yeah, and and I think okay, we're gonna talk about the next
Yeah,
bill. in a minute, but
There's
there's
Yeah,
something
right.
better
It's already
coming.
1:30.
All
There's
right.
something better
Allow for
coming.
ensure that marijuana for palliative use from a medical program is not subject to tax. That's good.
Oh, that's good.
Require that consumers transport marijuana in a sealed container. That's fine. Prohibit public consumption of recreational marijuana.
Eh,
Prohibit any type of advertising or marketing.
eh.
And of course
Why can't I promote my business?
But Weed Maps is right
yeah,
there.
Weed Maps is on it.
Of recreational marijuana, right? But you know that's other states have done that.
Yeah.
You know.
And
I mean, I think it's
But
foolish.
it's the actual. What they're saying is that if you are a cannabis producer, you can't advertise. But things like, is that kind of what we're looking at there? Because
Any
Weed
well,
Maps,
type-
the dispensaries
No,
can't
advertising the
No.
sale of recreational
And I'm
marijuana.
sorry, if I
Right.
open my cannabis lounge, I want
I
to
want it. That-
advertise
you
it.
bet your
Well,
home-
this
I
just
want
says sale.
pictures.
it's just
sale.
a sale. So
You
I
would
mean,
be
they're gonna
selling.
sell it in my lounge.
Then
they
you'd need
want
to be a
'em but
dispensary,
yeah,
too.
you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
that
we'll have
gets
to. That's,
dicey.
well, that's recreation.
Yeah,
that's
So,
it gets dicey.
We have one here. My brother from one of the Freemason brothers over in Colorado says if you're caught smoking, they were following us on here. If you're smoking marijuana in your car, cannabis in your car in Colorado, you will get a DUI. They will make you pay a $500 fine, and they will try to put you in jail.
But then we can't consume in public places
Correct.
either, and we don't have anywhere to go.
Exactly.
And,
then-
what if you're in
And
your home
lounges
with
is
your
not in
kid,
there.
or you live in public
Exactly.
housing? Like
Exactly.
that's
We
why
need
it's
the
important to
lounge
have
concept.
public consumption
Well,
places.
that's not in there.
No.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this bill
Okay,
lacks
here we
so
go.
many things.
This one
Number
here. There's others.
13, the unlucky 13.
Oh, here we go.
Require that 25% of licenses issued by the Department of Consumer Protection for growers,
my hat back,
processors,
look.
wholesales, and retails of recreational
wind up on
marijuana
that.
are located in enterprise zones.
Like the gentrified enterprise zone.
And
So
that's
the
all
same
it
And then
people.
who's owning it? And then who's owning it? Who's putting that money? Who?
So
they just gonna let anybody do that.
They
right?
Oh, yeah.
describe
Extra-
enterprise zones as any
okay.
area that has been negatively impacted by the war on drugs.
But
okay?
But enterprise zones have already been.
That's a concept that's been around, and that's like let's let
anybody can
McDonald's
live
open
there.
up in the hood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
let's open up so
Right.
the big giant liquor store could come in, or Green Thumb Industries, or Acreage Holdings.
Yep. ATI can pull up and they can just say, "Oh, hi, I'm from Canada."
I'm in an enter zone. I'm in an
Yeah.
enterprise zone. We're opening a giant dispensary here, and we're a giant corporation.
Yep.
And then all you're doing is just taking money out of that area. You're not really
You're
bringing.
providing a couple jobs, but at the same time, you're not doing what needs to be done. So
Yeah, you
you're not
have to.
giving ownership to the people that need
that live in that
ownership.
area, in that
So
enterprise
it's going to be
zone.
a third party, and that's what you're talking. And that enterprise zone can be something like in Hamden's Industrial Center.
Right.
That's an industrial zone.
Right.
But a processor from Colorado is going to buy into it. So it's not even a Connecticut person. So the money, the big money of it, isn't even coming into Connecticut. It's going out of state now.
People need to realize it's already happening here.
So, it is, man.
2 dispensaries have been bought up by large
That's right.
corporations. One of 2 grow houses, Cureleaf and AGL, are both owned by out of state multi corporations now.
So that
and
big
when
money,
I was talking to one of the religious leaders, Pastor Ty Foster, his main thing was, I want to make sure that the cannabis industry isn't run by corporate entities like cigarette makers, like alcohol makers, and all this other stuff. And my response to him was, well, just saying you don't want it is not going to help stop that from happening.
Abracadabra
there. What has to happen is you have to say it's coming. How do we prepare to make sure that our communities aren't inundated with pot shops on every corner owned by nobody from the community? Like that's it just seems so simple to me though, just to say, okay, this is happening. This is a conversation that we must begin having. So how do we fight that? How do we push forward? How do we make sure that we answer the issues and cover the problems and address them in advance?
Right, one by one instead of spreading fear. Let me do this real quick.
I can't see that far.
You're listening to Cannabis Corner on WNHHLP 103.5 FM. Broadcasting live from downtown New Haven. We are streaming live on TuneIn Radio and NewHavenIndependent.org. We're also streaming live video on Facebook Live. Just go to Facebook.com/New Haven Independent or go to your Facebook page and look us up.
And we got internet back, so we are up there. We are live.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So
we're here, see?
So let's talk about the better bills or the most
I want to finish this off. The last 2 things are allow retailers to deliver.
Well, okay.
That's good. And expunge marijuana possession offenses from anyone convicted for marijuana
They
possession.
threw that in there.
At the end.
I know that's right.
That's the last
They said
part.
we're gonna make this look a little
So
exciting.
let's talk about proposed bill number 690.
Hey.
Which goes up
Hey,
to
hey,
address
hey.
one of the issues we were just talking about.
Yeah.
I take
Now-
my hat off for this. We
Yeah.
ain't mad again.
Oh, we
Yeah.
ain't even hit the best
I
one.
should stand up.
I know. Right?
Yes, that's right. All right, so this was introduced by Senator Winfield. He is
Yes.
a good friend of the
But
show.
let me just say before we go
Yup,
on, there
there
were
you go.
so many legislators. Well, I'm scale that back. There were a lot of legislators who were
was.
involved in pushing this bill forward, this proposed bill forward. And so, although Senator Winfield was the
Right, the guy who put his name on it.
champion.
Sponsor.
the sponsor of this bill, that's the word I was looking for, there are plenty of silent or not listed co-sponsors like Robin Porter, who has been a champion for us. Like
Yes,
for
he
the New
has.
Haven community, we are so lucky to have her. Like Juan Candelario,
Yes.
who's been every session, I think, for the last 5 years, he's presented cannabis legislation.
And you hear about him pushing the movement, even stopping in the grocery store. Even
Right,
when he's off hours,
exactly.
he's on hours.
Right.
Exactly. So, of course, State
Josh
Senator.
Elliott.
Yes, it's State Senator Doug McCrory, and we've got a lot of champions.
Tony Walker.
There's a huge
Tony
list.
Walker.
Tons of 'em.
Yeah. So
they're all
although
behind
there's
this.
one named, there's plenty of people involved.
So here's this statement of purpose: to establish a cannabis equity program. This is nice. That the general statutes be amended to establish a cannabis equity policy through open legalization of cannabis, the expungement of criminal records of cannabis convictions, tax incentives for cannabis-related businesses to hire ex-offenders,
That's a big one.
diversity requirements,
Letting our people get back
including
to work.
for diversity, geographic diversity, within the licensing process for the cannabis industry.
Yes.
A reinvestment scheme using revenue to hire ex-offenders into the industry, protections in housing and public services, and the creation of an Office of Justice Reinvestment to oversee the policy. So basically what this bill kind of does, and it's a little general, it needs to be like flushed out, adds to that what that is lacking in that one section about the enterprise zones. This gets a little more specific about ex-offenders and having diversity requirements, including for geographic diversity.
And I think the biggest part of that is the Office of Justice Reinvestment.
Right. And I want you to expound on that a little bit because you probably know a little bit more.
Yeah, essentially what we were looking for. So let's just talk a little bit about how that language got to Senator Winfield. Of course, he's done his due diligence in his own research.
Oh, yeah, he's always,
However, we formed CURE, Connecticut United for Reform and Equity, and like the first thing we did with CURE was come up with a list of things that we felt were like non-negotiable, should be a part of the equity conversation. And so basically, actually, the Office of Justice Reinvestment was something that we added to our list of things because we felt it was important that those funds go directly, or we oversee where those funds go. Of course, we're going to have to give back to the state. We're going to have to do, some of that stuff, but that these communities actually benefit, that the ex-offenders are allowed to have these jobs, that they do get the training, that they are given these opportunities that sometimes would just go by the wayside if we didn't have someone, a watchdog,
right?
Kind of overseeing how this is implemented. So we felt that was really important.
So it's what that goes. It's not saying no, we're not going to send the money to the schools, or no, we're not going to send it any place else. It's, hey, we want our the percentage that's going to go back to the community, and
we want to control where it goes.
This watchdog organization is going to say, good, thank you very much for doing it, or they're going to say, you didn't do it. This is what goes forward.
To be done,
you know what I mean? It's not telling them how to spend their money or what to spend their money on or anything. It's literally just that little gatekeeper that allows people to know that funding and those revenues are going to go to a very worthwhile and equitable place.
And I think that person should also be available to provide guidance.
Mm-hmm.
There may be organizations that, like,
yes.
I heard that there was a particular grower that, and maybe they were just talking, but that said, I want to give back to these communities.
Mm-hmm.
I like to find a way. So this would be a way, for
That'd
someone to say,
point
oh, this is what you want to do?
Make hookups and things, right? Help people get trained.
Yep.
Yeah, like these
but
felons.
guiding
the felons, too.
But not just the felons, but the businesses,
everybody.
the entities to kind of like, and show them how they can actually
do help. Yeah, right. But no, that's a great bill, and that just came out last week, so we really applaud Senator Winfield and everybody else who put it in. And then there's one last bill I want to talk about real quick that just was announced this morning. Thank you very much to Senator Robin Porter, who announced a bill for patient grow rights.
This is separate
in Connecticut.
Remember, this is separate than everything else.
Separate from everything else, doesn't to be included in the marijuana bill. It is patient grow rights. It's a very simple. I don't have a copy of it here. Short thing. It just says basically to establish a program to allow Connecticut medical marijuana patients to. Oh, Harry's got it up right there.
Yep. So an act allowing the home cultivation of cannabis by certified marijuana patients.
That's it. It's simple.
That's
it. It doesn't specify
to allow certified medical patients to go cultivate cannabis at home. And so, I get a lot of questions all the time because I'm primarily right now working in the medical marijuana field. With Canna Health, we do the medical marijuana evals and certifications, and people are like, so you're pushing so hard for recreation, what's going to happen to your business? And I never felt like Canna Health or any kind of certifying center would just disappear because I know that there'll be an ongoing need for medical patients, but the ability to grow will be another incentive for people to pursue the medical side of things and get their cards. So I think it helps my industry,
it definitely does.
Specific industry, and it helps patients first and foremost.
Big time.
So because the cost of purchasing cannabis can be quite expensive, quite difficult.
I was, not to be rude, and I'm going to jump in on that one. I was having a conversation in the CTM, the support groups that Joe and everybody runs throughout the states. You get to have that network, and now we're sitting there talking, and pure oil from the dispensary is $94, $95, $96 a gram. 3.5 grams comes off your allotment, and it comes usually from AGL. They produce it. It's a 800, and it's about 800 milligrams per vial. You can use it. It's activated. It's distillate. At $95 per gram. If that was my medicine for the month at 3.5, I'd be able to purchase 20 grams, not even a full ounce for the entire month, and it would cost me $1,900. So $1,900 a month for your medication, where you can go get your medical certificate and become, hopefully when everything, all this passes, and just home cultivate for yourself. You know, yes, you're going to subsidize at the dispensary. You're going to make sure you keep your paperwork up through the medical office. But being able to have home cultivation is so huge. And
Right.
Robin's bill gives that to the patients.
Yes.
So it's a huge thing.
Yeah, so that's all the 3 bills that we're concerned with right now. There are a couple more, but it's about impaired driving. I did hear a rumor that there is an opioid bill in as well.
Mm-hmm.
It just hasn't been cycled through. Apparently, there's a backlog of bill, but I do have heard that
What
an
is that?
opioid to put opioids on the medical marijuana
Oh,
program.
So yeah.
So yeah,
Similar to
So
what Jersey
adding
just did.
opioids
similar to what
the
Jersey
list.
just did. I mean, there was a lot of other news to go over. Massachusetts made $24 million in its first couple months, but we can go over that in the next time. Let's go over some of the events. We had some good events this
we
weekend.
had some walls. We had a
We had
great
a nice
week. We saw a
painting.
lot of each other.
Yeah,
We had a
I'm
nice. I'm tired as hell. Sunday was like sleeping all day. But yeah, we had
I
the
wish.
nice paint and sip, paint and toke, CBD, paint and
paint
soak.
and toke. It was great. We had Joe came, served some awesome coffee, gave us a ton of information. Kebra was always there with fun. Kebra Mama was there.
Yeah.
Our friends from New York. We had
Jason
friends from
showed
New
up.
Haven. Jason was there
Yeah.
with his wonderful partner. It was awesome. It was a great time. Thank you
Cody.
very much from Canna Health as well. Thank you for hosting
Yeah.
us.
Thank you.
And
And
that was in the Hartford office. Then
That
we
was in
had
the
our
office
class
office.
in the New
you and
Haven, so both
Jessica.
Yep.
places were popping.
Yep. Yes. New
And we had the
Haven
class
was
today.
going.
We had 12 people in the class, which is very nice. Brian did a
does such
great
gr-
job.
Yeah, I'm saying the exact same
A lot of
thing.
people
Brian
learned
does
a lot.
great job.
And the next one coming up is going to be Kebra.
Yes.
She's doing the medical marijuana class on the 9th.
Mhm.
And so that's
Come through.
so come on through. And
I'll keep it interesting.
and then what else we got going on? We got the normal meeting coming up on the 20th at the Rough Draft. We got Gene Traders coming up on the 17th. We have a discussion group coming on the 6th of February down at Bohemian High. And then we got Uncle Lou's class on the 26th of
Yes,
February,
sir.
Cooking with Cannabis. So we got 2 classes this month. We got a Gene Traders Expo. We got a normal meeting. We got discussion group. And Kebra, what are you open? What are your hours this week on both offices?
So in New Haven will be open Friday and Saturday.
Mhm.
Friday 2 to 6 and Saturday 10 to 2. And we'll be open at Hartford on Saturday from 10 to 2.
Okay, very, very cool. So if you guys need your medical marijuana recommendation, that's when you can get it at Canna Health. So anything else going on?
We have a couple things going on. Gene Traders, we're really excited about that. Come out for that. Next after that is the
In
farming,
March is
in
the
March
hemp
is the Farming Hemp Expo,
right.
and we are looking for an independent sales consultant. So if you're looking for some way to jump into the industry and the space, come on out for that. Then we also have I have some paint and tokes throughout the country actually.
Yeah, so
it's
check out
it's pretty
Paint and
cool.
Toke
Jump
on
on the website,
Facebook.
check that out. Ashley will be my partner. Ashley will be in Puerto Rico looking at hemp
Oh.
space.
Really?
Yeah, we'll be looking at hemp space. He's in Jamaica right now, looking at
Very
land,
cool.
and then he just came back from Colombia.
All right, we'll have him get in
So-
touch
No,
with me.
actually, I'll
I
go
got
on
some
some of
land
these
in Puerto Rico.
expeditions with him.
I've been looking at
Ashley,
tickets. I
help
was
us
getting
this
ready to
out.
go. He's like, bro, tickets only $300. You should be down here in 12 minutes. Let's go.
Yeah,
I was like,
that's
oh
true.
man, I
They
might
are.
be
They're
going.
cheap.
But
But-
but yeah, I think it's important that people who know about the potential of being able to grow cannabis through this bill. Number one, so we need to make this very clear. They're proposed bills.
Right.
They have not been enacted. They haven't
Voted
been
on.
approved. None of that stuff. So we need support for these bills, specifically for bill number 690, Senate Bill 690, and what's the grow rights one?
Robbins Bill.
We just had it up. It was.
Oh wait, I could find it.
And also I have a feeling other marijuana bills will be submitted
will
before
be.
the end of
You know
session.
it's
So
gonna happen.
Robbins' bill is proposed bill number 476, and that's for grow rights.
That's for
and
patient grow rights.
Patient grow rights.
And then the big bill is 5595. So that will
Oh
be.
well, we don't care about
Yeah,
that. We
bill
wasn't
is
even
right.
calling
Yeah,
that
we
number
ain't
out.
even
Well,
doing that.
it might end up being the only one they vote on as long as they amend it. They have to change it.
Yeah.
Remember, like Kebra said, this is not the final language. They're very general. They're just set up so that it can start getting into the hearing process. That's the next thing, people. Testimony. Keep your eyes open. We'll be announcing hearings. Connecticut Normal Cure will be announcing hearings. We are going to need your testimony, whether it be written by email or whether you show up in person, once these bills are started to get on to the committees. It's important they get out of committee and onto the floor, and they've got to be the right bills.
And Normal and Cure will be partnering up and doing different testimony writing seminars.
Yep.
So throughout the state. So I know Cure will probably do some up in the Hartford area, where Normal will probably do some down here in the New Haven area. Testimony writing, it doesn't take long. You just get a couple words on some papers, and you'll be surprised when we're up at the Capitol and we see that big old stack of papers next to them that these are the testimonies.
It's really nice.
You know, Madam Chairperson, we have 350 testimonies. Would you like to pass them or it's awesome when there's so many and they say, let's